Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be playing with some new products, some new to me, some new to all of us, every person on the planet, and just chatting with you and sharing some embarrassing / amusing stories along the way. I have a new to me primer from Shiseido to try. I also have the new foundation from Gucci in a little sample. I have the new Orgasm Rising products from Nars, the eyeshadow palette and the cheek palette. I have a new shade of the Gucci bronzer to me to try. I have the new lit up highlighter stick from Westman Atelier in Parla, and I also have some new lip products from Eldridge. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start off putting my primers on, and then we'll do eyeshadow while that works its way in, which is typically how I do things, just to give skincare as long as possible, then give primer as long as possible to do its thing and disappear before we move on with our lives. So I'm actually going to use my Tom Ford on this side of my face and the Shiseido Synchro Skin Soft Blurring Primer on this side of the face, because should anything bizarre happen, like getting it in my hair, like with the foundation, say anything weird is going on with the foundation, I want to know, is it the foundation or is it the primer? Because I'm trying a new primer and trying a new foundation today, which is not to be advised. So I do want to have like my normal primer on one side, just so I know who's to blame if there are any freak occurrences. So that went in really nicely. It feels very lotiony, that white lotion-like feeling, slightly thicker, very silicone-y, as you would expect from like a smoothing primer. Definitely a lot thinner than my Tom Ford, like more of a lotion. This feels more like a gel. Totally different consistency, and straight off the bat I'm noticing that the Tom Ford is a lot more mattifying on the skin. Like all of this sort of shininess from my skin is subdued, whereas on this side there's still a bit more luminosity, even though that has had longer to do its thing. So yeah, I feel like already the Tom Ford side looks more mattified and it looks smoother, just because this side is definitely a bit more glowy. Do you see the redness in my skin today is having a party? And we are all invited. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Nars Orgasm Rising eyeshadow palette. I received this along with the cheek palette in PR, and I was excited because when I first saw the promo pics of this, my boring, neutral, loving heart was excited. I was stimulated, I was excited, and it took a while to come to the UK, but she's here now, and that's all that really matters. So I have used this palette a few times. I like her, I certainly do. So let's have a little play today. We're going to start off with this lightest matte and my Rephr 16 as per the usual. I am nothing if not very predictable and boring. I like what I like, and I know what that is, as the saying doesn't go. I really am in a strange mood today. You may have noticed I had a traumatic experience yesterday. I don't know if you want to know about it, but I am going to tell you, because I do feel like traumatic experiences, when talked about, seem funny a lot of the time. I feel like all of my major traumas, I don't know if it's just because humour is how I cope, but I feel that many of my major traumas have like funny stories behind them, moments where we all just laughed and it was pretty life-saving, you know? An example would be when I was going through my divorce. Like my mum, before she realised that my ex-husband and I were splitting up, she'd already sent me a happy anniversary card, and it was just, I mean, we literally tortured my mother. We made her cry, actually. That's how much we tortured her about the fact that she'd sent me happy anniversary card while we were getting divorced, which now is hilarious. But at the time was pretty ironic, let me tell you. So now I'm using the Richer Matte, the warmer matte, and my Rephr 27 in the crease. We're going for the neutrals today. That's what we are doing. But yes, so my traumatic day yesterday. So I had to have an MRI scan, and already before I tell you about the scan, I have a funny anecdote to share with you, because why I was having an MRI scan is because I have an old, like, swimming related injury, basically, in my groin, okay? That's where it is. That's what's happened. I have what is called a labral tear, which is not a huge big deal. I don't even know why I need to bother having an MRI, because they're pretending that the NHS is going to bother operating on it, when I just know they're going to be like, oh, you know, yeah, it's a labral tear, but we are not paying for your surgery, when actually you can still walk just about. So, you know, carry on as you were. I know that's what's going to happen, but they decided to send me for an MRI scan to just check that that is indeed what it is, even though we all know that's what it's going to be. It's very obvious. Anyway, the first anecdote is that when I told, this has been going on for years, by the way, I've had this for years, and this is how long the NHS takes to like send you for an MRI scan. Literal years. But when this first happened, I messaged my boss telling her that I had a labial tear. Why did that happen? Because of predictive text messaging, okay? Predictive text decided, you haven't got enough problems. We're gonna really mortify you today. So yeah, that happened. I texted my boss, bottom middle shimmer builder from Sonia G. Back to the story. Yeah, so that happened. I texted my boss saying, oh yeah, you know, went to see the osteo. She confirmed I have a labial tear. And do you know what is a con? One of the biggest cons in life is the delete send message. Does not, what's the point in saying unsend message or delete message for like the recipients if it isn't going to do that? Like, that never works. I've never had a single episode or experience of that actually deleting the message before someone's seen it. Of course it didn't. Of course she saw it. Of course that is now how we refer to my injury. Oh, Charlotte's having her MRI scan for her labial tear. Brilliant. So there was that. So anyway, that was many years ago now. I'm off for my MRI scan, and I was slightly concerned. Top middle shimmer, Rephr 21. I was slightly concerned because I had this piercing, and it's not like fresh, I've had it a few months now, but because with a conch piercing, is that what it's called? I think so. Because they can take like a year to heal, I obviously do not want to remove it, but for an MRI scan, you are supposed to remove all jewellery because it is basically a giant magnet. And yeah, they don't want your jewellery to get like sucked into your body, presumably. So I was a little bit worried about it. I did a lot of Googling. I thought at the end of the day, if I have to take it out, I have to take it out. Like, it's not worth dying for, you know, in a presumably horrific way. So yeah, I thought it's not worth, you know, anything bad happening. So I'll just take it out. I don't know if I can take it out. It's one of those sort of screw in numbers. I've never tried to loosen it. I've never tried to do anything with it. So I don't know how that's going to go, but that was my plan. If they said to me, you have to take it out or we will not scan you, I will just have to take it out and be annoyed and hope that I can get it back in without having caused an infection. So that was my foolproof plan. I did a lot of Googling, I did a lot of research, and everywhere just kind of said that, oh, it will probably be fine. I'm not using any product here. I'm just kind of blending all the edges. But a lot of places, a lot of Google results told me it would probably be fine. Others told me like their technician wouldn't scan them. Others said they were turned away. Others said that the nurse had a like test a little handheld magnet to test their jewelries before they went in, and it will all depend on your jewelry. So I know that this is like solid gold. It was very expensive. I know it's quality jewelry. I'm just using my Charlotte Tilbury mascara because I don't have a new mascara to try today. So I don't know, from what Google was telling me, that was better than if it had been like, I don't know, steel or titanium or something. So I was kind of prepared to have some kind of debate with the scanning technician about this jewellery. I'd taken everything else out, everything else was gone. I also was expecting, because I asked my husband, he's had MRIs before, do I like get naked? How do I go in the machine? Am I naked? Am I in my clothes? What's the deal? And he categorically told me that I would be given a gown. I'd remove all my clothes, apart from maybe my knickers. I'd put a gown on and like go in the gown. So that's what I was kind of braced for, okay, which was lies. None of this happened, okay? Because I was really just wanting to know, do I need to shave my legs? That was the point of the question. We're moving on to the Gucci foundation, by the way, if you are still in any way paying attention to the makeup. Oh, that looks quite light, but I think it'll be fine. We're going ghostly today. So that was the first thing, is that I was going in fully clothed, which was surprising to me. I was not expecting it. Oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, guys. Oh, whoa, okay, the fragrance is hitting the nostrils. The fragrance is checking into the hotel. So yeah, the first thing is I get there, they tell me to take all of my belongings and put them in this locker, and that I was going to be fully clothed, which was my first thing. Is I was wearing a sports bra. I don't really wear proper bras ever. So I was wearing a sports bra, and then they were like, oh, you know, is there any metal? And I was like, I don't know. I thought I was going in a gown. I hadn't like prepared my clothes, like 100% confident that there's no, you know, underwire or like a badge. I don't know what's in this stuff. I don't know what's in my pants. I was on my period, so I had a pad on. I don't know what's in this stuff. So that was like a little alarming, because I thought I was going to just be in my knickers, and suddenly I had to keep all my clothes on, and I'm thinking, I know there's going to be some metal in here. I'm going to die. That's what I thought. And I also had some Kirby grips in, which I hadn't even like registered that I had put in that day. So I like noticed that at the very last second. Presumably I would have been decapitated if I had not removed the Kirbys. I can only presume that's what would have happened. Like, the coverage of this foundation is a madness, okay? I knew I was going to be right to use a sponge today, because I was quite afraid of the coverage, and I was right to be, because it is there. The coverage is there for all to see. Just building a little bit just where there's some serious redness trying to thrive. So that was the first sort of near miss. The nurse then starts going through like this disclaimer form, right? She's asking me, have I had like plastic surgery? Have I got any pins from previous surgeries in? Have I got a pacemaker? Which literally are really obvious, simple questions. And I know the answer is no to all of them, but suddenly when you're being asked these questions in like, you know, a life or death situation, I can't remember. And I suddenly feel like I have had all these things, and that I'm definitely going to die now. And then she gets to asking about the jewellery, at which point I say, you know, I have this earring and I cannot take it out. And she was like, why can't you take it out? And I said, well, because it's a fresh piercing. And she was like, how fresh? How many weeks? She was not friendly, by the way. She was a very intimidating, frightening lady who in no way was concerned with like putting my mind at ease. She just wanted to scare the living bejesus out of me. So I said, oh, well, you know, it's like a few months old. And she's like, that's not fresh, that's absolutely fine, take it out. And I was like, no, because this is like a cartilage piercing, it can take like a year to heal. It's not like a normal. She was trying to have a debate with me about how fresh this piercing was. And I was like, look, lady, you're a nurse, not a piercer, okay? So please don't try to give me an ear infection, is what I was saying, while obviously being very respectful. So she then got out her little tester magnet, and she seemed incredibly disappointed that it didn't pull the earring at all. The earring did not move. There was no feeling there was no magnetization whatsoever. And I'll be honest with you, she seemed devastated. She really wanted to prove me wrong and terrify me further. That's just what her vibe was doing. So that was fine. So then she said basically I had to sign the waiver saying, you know I might die because I've left my earring in. So that was that. So that was a little alarming. Although we tested it, she did say, oh, you'll probably still, die in there. You'll probably still burn to death, but that's your fault. That was what she said, pretty much word for word, I'm sure. And then came the surprising part. So I knew about the piercing. I knew that this was likely to be a conversation. I knew that I might have to take it out. What I didn't know is about the tattoos. So I have, I think, 7-ish tattoos. I think I have 7 now. Pat McGrath powder, a brand new shiny one. How exciting. So yeah, I knew about the piercings. I knew that was going to be an issue. I did not know about the tattoos. So she then said, do you have any tattoos? And I said, yes, many. And she then proceeded to tell me that some tattoos can start to burn during an MRI if they've basically, I think, used like dodgy ink. There's certain types of ink that have like methylene or something because it's under the skin. It will essentially like catch fire to your skin, which was what she was telling me. And this is like brand new information and I'm about to go in there and I have tattoos everywhere. So she was like, don't worry, we're going to give you, don't worry, you might spontaneously combust in the machine, but don't worry about it, it'll be fine. Well, for you it might, because it won't be happening to you. You'll just be sat out there probably going, told her so. She wouldn't listen. So at this point, I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to get a bit concerned. I'm definitely going to boil to death in the machine. I've already got one earring left in. I'm covered in tattoos and who knows what kind of materials in my leggings hidden in there. I'm definitely going to burn to death having an MRI for no reason because I know they're not going to do anything about it anyway. That was how my day was going, apparently. So anyway, I'm now absolutely terrified. I was a bit nervous about the MRI in the first place because you get put in this like tiny little box and it's very, very noisy and terrifying. And it goes on for what feels like 3 hours, but is actually like 20 minutes. But you feel like you've been in there forever and the world might have ended outside and no one's told you because they didn't realise you were in the machine and you're just going to have to be in there forever now, probably. If you don't burn to death. So at this point, that was seeming like, probably the better option. So I just ran a bit of the two mattes mixed together under my lower lash line and now I'm using the lightest shimmer in the inner corner there. Cheeky little pop. Anyway, I go in for some reason fully clothed and they give me a panic button in case I start catching fire. And the lady is like, well, just if you start feeling anything burning, if anything starts happening, or, you have any issues, just squeeze this panic button. I mean, the presence of a panic button and the need for a panic button actually is the thing that most likely is going to make me panic because why do I need that? I'm going to definitely start burning to death is presumably the reason. Okay, so let's move on to this new bronzer shade from Gucci. I'm going to use my Sonia G Jumbo Bronzer. So anyway, they give me the panic button. They ask me if I would like some headphones to listen to the radio because it's very noisy in the machine and it just sometimes helps to block some of the noise. And it's just, a bit of a nice distraction if you're getting a bit worried in there, you're a bit nervous, whatever. This is going to be, some nice music. Anyway, my God, this radio is like the fuzziest flipping radio station you've ever experienced in your life. So now not only do I have like the noise of the machine, the fear of impending death at any second via burning, I now have Justin Bieber going on in my ears also, and there's no way now to stop it. I can't change my mind because they've categorically told me you cannot move. Do not move a muscle. Don't breathe. Don't think about moving. Don't think about breathing. Just lie in there and don't move is what I was basically told. So now I'm lying there and all I can think about is 1, I'm definitely burning to death at any second. 2, I cannot stand, my ears are being poisoned. And 3, all I can think about is moving. I've never wanted to move so much in my life. I am quite lazy. I don't like going for walks. I don't like going outside the house if I can help it. I don't love it. And now, for the first time in my life, all I can think about is moving. I want to move. I want to move my leg. I want to move my foot. I want to move something. I desperately want to move something because I'm not allowed. It's the sole reason I've never wanted to move more in all of my life. And so I'm just lying there. I close my eyes. I'm trying to relax. I'm trying not to move. I'm trying not to catch on fire. It's not a relaxing time. I don't recommend it. This bronzer is looking delightful. I'm really liking that. I mean, I like this bronzer anyway, but I definitely think I prefer this shade to 4, although 4, I think in summer is going to be better. I think in winter, well, this was perfect. So because I have these really big, heavy headphones on, right, I'm now starting to think, oh my God, does my ear feel hot? It feels like my ear feels hot, but I'm pretty confident it's because it is hot. It's hot in there. And I don't know about you, but my ears are always like the place that gets the hottest. Like if I'm hot, my ears are on fire, you know? So I'm like, am I actually starting to spontaneously combust, or is this just the paranoia, the fear, the heat of the machine and the headphones that are like squishing my ear, and I'm trying desperately to compare. Is this ear hotter than that ear? Am I burning? Am I already burning? Is it happening? Should I squeeze the button? So that is all of the joyful thoughts that were going through my head, and I swear it felt like I was in there for literally hours, but it was literally about 20 minutes and it was all fine and I didn't catch fire, and I got to walk out with a smug look on my face, like, look at me, still in one piece. So there. Okay, so I'm going to use this Westman Atelier Lit Up Stick in the shade Parla. This was apparently initially like part of a set, like a limited edition shade as part of a set, now permanent. This packaging is divine. I'm going to use my BK Beauty 109. It's just such an amazing all-round brush. It's great for cream blush. It's great for cream highlight. It's great for concealer, even foundation, cream contour, cream bronzer. You see what I'm saying? Use it for literally anything. So I'm just tappity doo-dahing on the top there and pressing this into the skin. I've had a lot of questions about this highlighter and I've only really just started to play with it. Last week Last week was half term and we went to Legoland for my son's birthday and we had the time of our lives. We had an amazing time. There's another funny story about that, but I don't know if I have time to share it with you because I've rambled on about my MRI for so long. But the short version is my daughter decided she wanted to go on like the one scary ride that's at Legoland, which is, I think, by the way, false advertising. Because for a start, it's called like Maya's Riding Adventure, and the picture of the ride is a little girl riding a horsey, right? It looks like a carousel based on the advertising, okay? It's literally like, oh, a little pony ride. And I thought, why is it so popular? This is a horror roller coaster. It literally is like, goes so high up into the sky and it spins around and then it goes up to the sky on this side and then it goes up to the sky on that side and then you plummet to your death and then it spins around, right? It's a pretty intense ride. Definitely not like a nice little pony ride in the sun, okay? So I got my daughter on it. As we were sitting down, she just literally starts panicking, okay? Out of nowhere, she starts panicking. She starts freaking out. Up until this point, she was completely fine. She wanted to go on this ride. We're sat down. She's freaking out. Mummy, help me. Mummy, help me. Crying her eyes out. Help me, I want to go. Help me. And I was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to get off? Because we've got seconds. We've got seconds to get off. The man is like walking off of the platform, okay? He's walking off of the platform. What's happened is I told her that there was going to be a harness that would hold pulled us in, because presumably looking from the ride, there must be one. You're not just going to be loose hanging on for dear life up there, surely. Turns out when we got on there, there's no harness. And that's why I think she started panicking. So I said, look, we've got to, like, do you want to get off? What's going on? I don't even know if we've got time to get off. And the last thing I want to happen is us to start walking across the platform as it takes off, and we're definitely going to plummet to our deaths. So I'm like trying to talk her down off a ledge, because I also don't know what this is going to look like if we start flying through the air while she's having a panic attack. Presumably not great is what I was thinking. Anyway, at this moment, while I'm having that do we have time to get off or not conversation in my head, in like 3 split seconds, a barrier comes up from behind us, like seemingly from nowhere. And there is a barrier, and it feels very secure. And it's like at this moment, the man just comes back onto the ride and starts checking all the harnesses that have now arrived. And he sort of whacks them, and they're like behind us. And as he did it, to try and make my daughter laugh during her panic attack, I went, oh, man, just whacked my bottom. And literally she starts like laugh crying, and then all the girls next to her start laugh crying as well. And at that moment, the horse neighed, and I pretended to jump and went, oh, pardon. And at this point she's howling with laughter, and then it starts moving. And she didn't really have time to sort of think about it at that point, because, you know, we distracted her with, first of all, the barrier coming up, and second of all, just all of the jokes that were going on. So obviously I'm using the Orgasm Foreplay, I didn't know that's what it was called, blush palette, and I'm using, who would have thought it, the shade Orgasm, right? I, again, got this palette in PR probably a week or so ago, and I'm not a fan of Orgasm, traditional single blush Orgasm, original single blush Orgasm, because it, one, is very, very light on me and very chunky, sparkly and dry. I've never liked it. I've never been a fan of the blush. I think there are much better blushes from Nars. But the formula in here is so much nicer. It's got such better pigmentation. It's so much smoother and more glowy and shiny as opposed to like the original formula. It's so much nicer that I can finally appreciate this blush, because this is like definitely a better formula than I've previously tried. The shades in here are all beautiful, but I will say this is Orgasm, this is Orgasm X. So I feel like, one, I've got at least these 2 shades. This looks very similar to Savage as well. And let's be honest, most of us don't buy these palettes for the highlighter. We kind of buy it for the blushes. So I do feel like if you have a lot of NARS blushes, then you've literally got this palette, because this is Orgasm. What's happening? Orgasm X, Orgasm. This is actually called Orgasm Rush, although I do think it looks very similar to Savage or Savage. I don't know how they are intending us to say it. And then you have a admittedly glorious highlighter. But I mean, if you have a lot of these palettes from NARS, I do definitely think you have this already. If you don't have a lot of NARS blushes, if you don't have a lot of these blush palettes, this is an excellent one, because it's more concise, put together. Everything in here is very wearable, very beautiful, goes together gorgeously. I just like mixing, you know, the 2 Orgasm shades together, and using the highlight is also beautiful. And so I think it's a gorgeous palette, but I definitely don't think at this point, if you've bought all of the other ones, that there's much point in you getting that one as well. So anyway, back to my ride story. So as soon as we started going, she calmed right down, and she said, like, she wanted me to hold her hand, which was fine. I managed to do that, and like I was making jokes, but she was basically saying she wanted to have her eyes closed, which is obviously cheating. But at this point, I was just glad that she wasn't still trying to escape her harness and make a break for it. So I was like, if you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. And then when we sort of got to the top, I was telling her, like, that's it, we're doing it, you've done it, like, this is the top, we're at the top. And then she like opened her eyes and had the time of her life, and I was like, you know, why did you do that to me? I came off traumatized, okay? My heart had like left my body. That's how I was feeling. Okay, so I know I have already done a short with swatches of all of the new Charlotte, what? This is by far the most chaotic video I've ever made in my life, isn't it? I've already done a short of all of the new lip glosses from Lisa Eldridge that I picked up, but what I thought I would show you today is a new lipstick that I got from Lisa with the especially exciting Dancing Rose over the top, so you can see how that looks over a lipstick. So I bought the Rain Velvet Matte after experiencing the gloss, which I absolutely love. I was like, I need that lipstick. Why don't I already have that lipstick? So I went back and ordered Rain. And I actually love it so much that I've already ordered the liner to go with it. That's how much I like this shade. It's so beautiful, very easy to wear, very flattering. So now let's whack some of Dancing Rose over the top, which is one of the new sort of sparkly glosses, new formula from Lisa. I mean, so pretty. Oh, it's just so pretty. It is a sparkly gloss, but it doesn't look sparkly. It just looks super shiny and reflective, and it really just transforms the lipstick, I feel, as well. And here is the finished makeup look. Super pretty, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out today. Glorious. Let's give you a good old close-up. The foundation is looking really good. I used a really small amount, obviously used a sponge because I didn't want it to be like a mask, and it is still absolutely full coverage. It is full coverage with a tiny amount and a sponge, and yeah, we got there. I do think it's one to work in sections because I obviously applied it like everywhere, and then it was like, oh, I felt like it was a race against time to get it blended in because it was trying to set down. And from what I understand, this is like a bulletproof 24-hour wearing, transfer proof foundation. So you want to work quickly, I'd probably recommend working in sections because once it sets down, it's going to get harder to blend out. So that's something, a mistake that I can learn from as I keep playing with it. But I think everything is looking very flawless and smooth. It's not exaggerating like my texture or my lines. It's not even sunk into smile lines yet. Forehead is looking good. Muzzle zone problem area is looking good. It's not looking super flat matte either, which I appreciate. It's looking a little more, it's looking a bit more of a sort of modern matte, luminous matte. Okay, so let's start off on the primers. Remember, this side is Shiseido, this side is Tom Ford. I'm going to keep trying this one out a little bit. What I'm noticing, I don't know if you can see this on camera, can you tell me? This side definitely looks more luminous. There's more shine, like just here by the side of my nose. There's shine on both sides, but this side just looks a little shinier. I also feel like this side 100% is looking smoother. To me, what do you think? This side definitely doesn't look as smooth and flawless as this side does to me. Let me know if you can see that on camera, but yeah, for sure, I think this side is winning. It's definitely smoother, more refined, more flawless, less sort of shine coming through in certain areas. So I'm gonna keep trying this one, but yeah, nothing bad, didn't ball up, didn't fight with my foundation, but it has a tough job competing with the Tom Ford, I'll say that. The foundation, I am absolutely pleasantly surprised by. I thought I would hate it. It's really high coverage, it's a matte foundation, it's one of these like bulletproof, transfer proof situations. It just had a lot of like the opposite of buzzwords, my red flag words it had in it, and I was thinking it's just not going to be for me. Not that it's going to be a bad foundation, but it's just not my type of foundation. I think it looks really nice, really flawless, would be a good one for events, I think, and like photos, because it's a little more matte than my typical foundation that I prefer. So I think if you're a matte lover, you might really like this one. I think it looks very flawless and you need a tiny amount. My new bronzer shade, I'm really happy with. I feel like it really suits me in the winter to have a cooler toned bronzer, and this one is delightful. I already know that I love the formula, and just having a more, I guess, neutral toned bronzer is a great thing for me. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of use out of that shade. I just find it more flattering on my winter skin tone to have a cooler undertone to it, and it's hard to find, so that was a winner. Now these Nars products, this eyeshadow palette I think is beautiful. I'm really happy with how my eyeshadow turned out today. I think it's gorgeous. It's like understated, soft glam, neutrals, that is everything that I love. It's a really nice size. I love these little palettes from Nars. They're always very easygoing, very easy to work with. You know, you've got everything you need as far as transitional shades, and then you've got a lovely choice of shimmers, and every time I've used it so far I've really enjoyed it and really liked how my look turned out. Is it like a colour story we've never seen before? Of course not. Is it groundbreaking? Is it like, oh my god, the best eyeshadow that you've ever seen? Probably not, but it is a very good, easy to use, beautiful neutral eyeshadow that has a really nice amount of pigment and impact, and I really like it. I'm always pleasantly surprised by these 9 pans from Nars because they just do what they said on the tin. They have reliable, good, solid formulas that are consistent and are just very usable, very travel friendly, very storable. If you don't have a huge makeup collection, this is a lovely addition, I think. Now, as I said about the cheek palette from Nars, a beautiful cheek palette as always. Their cheek palettes, there's a reason why like they make so many of them and why it's like one of their best sellers, because they're so nice, they're so beautiful, they're so good. The formulas are always fantastic. Their blushes, their blush formula is like one of their absolute best products in my opinion. And this is a collection, a smaller curation. Usually they are £6, this is 4. It's just like the perfect everyday palette. You've got something peachy, something more of a pop, and something a bit more neutral, and a very wearable, usable highlighter. So again, if you have 6 Nars blush palettes, of course you already have everything in here. If you have a lot of Nars blushes, then you've definitely probably got these 2, if not something very similar to this one. So really it's going to be down to you as to whether this has a place in your collection or not. But if you don't have a lot of blush or a lot of these palettes from Nars, this is a fantastic one. It's going to be a little less money because there are 2 less shades and the packaging is a little less dramatic, but again that makes it very storable, very easy to travel with, and the formulas in here are beautiful. This Orgasm blush is the best formula I think they've done in that shade. It's a massive improvement from their original OG Orgasm formula, and I again will use this a lot and love this and travel with this a lot. But like I said, if you have 6 of the Nars blush palettes, you've already got this, you know that. Now the Westman Atelier Lit Up Stick, I again was really pleasantly surprised at. This has basically like no base, it has. It's very sheer, almost colourless dew, basically. It's literally absolutely just luminosity with almost no colour. It's so pretty, it just looks like dewy, glowy skin. Using it the way that I do with my Beauty 109, it's easy, it doesn't pick up anything. I'd used the bronzer before this, so powder, bronzer, foundation, it's gone on top of it. I've used it a few times in that way. I always use highlight before blush, so but it has gone on top of powder, bronzers and various different foundations. I've never had it pick anything up, I've never had it move anything or have an issue at all using it over like a powder bronzer or using it on top of foundation, just tapping it into the skin. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely my type of highlight, as in it's glowy, dewy, luminous skin, juicy skin, without a cast, without too much colour, without it being too metallic. I think it's absolutely glorious. And now the glosses, I mean, this is a beautiful gloss. I've already shown you guys all of my swatches, but I will say the Sorcery gloss is my favourite like nude everyday whack it on gloss that I have in my whole collection. It's absolutely the perfect nude. Rain is also beautiful. I think I have pictures on my Instagram, and I do have lip swatches in my shorts video of every shade. This is the new formula with the glitter, and it does not disappoint. It doesn't feel gritty or grainy. It doesn't feel chunky or uncomfortable. It almost feels exactly the same as Lisa's original glosses. There is a slight feeling like that you're wearing a glittery gloss, as in it doesn't feel as completely smooth as her original glosses as you would expect, because it has sparkles in there, but it looks so pretty and it feels so smooth and comfortable, just like a mask on the lips, and it's so juicy and reflective and really just the prettiest gloss. An absolute winner for me. So there you have it. Those are all of the new products that I have to try and share my initial thoughts with you today. I will update and give more comprehensive thoughts in my February roundup as always, and let you know especially how I'm getting on with the primer and the foundation as I try them out across more days and with other products and just different environments. And I'll also let you know how it wears and how it goes throughout the day. I'll pin a comment on how it wears today, but yeah, I'll give you more information on my February roundup. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all the bonkers stories that I randomly decided to share with you today. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.